Hello, this is John Paval with Access Arts Live and the weekly roundup of orchestral and operatic productions, what I call big gun productions or big stage productions for this week, January 27th to February 2nd. And we have great stuff for you this week. We've got Verdi's Falstaff. We've got Rameau's Castor and Pollux for operatic works coming to you from top opera houses. And then we have on Thursday, we have both the Stockholm Royal Phil and the Bergen Philharmonic offering you interesting concerts with ambitious up and coming young musicians and conductors. And then on Saturday, we've got a triple header of concerts coming to you from Hamburg, the Elbphilharmonie, from Cologne, the Cologne Philharmonic, and from my beloved Detroit Symphony Orchestra. So before we get to that, let me remind you, if you're watching and enjoying this video or live stream on Facebook, please click the like button so we can send you an invite to follow us. If you're watching this on YouTube, do click on the subscribe box underneath the video or the lower right-hand corner of the video at the end of this video. And if you're watching us on our other platforms, please do also like and or subscribe to us. Don't just like the video, follow us. That would be X, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. Why? Because if you do, we can be sure to get you more than 1,000 live links to live performances online in 2025. That's what we're able to do. So let's get to the business at hand, this week's productions. And I'm very happy about all of them. Now, the first of them is the first one that I mentioned to you. It's going to be coming to you from the La Scala Opera House. You know, it isn't every day that you get to enjoy a top opera singer singing in a role which has been more or less his signature role throughout his career in an opera which was more or less the masterwork of the composer. This Wednesday, you can. Wednesday, January 29th, La Scala Opera House live streams Verdi's masterwork Falstaff with conductor Daniele Gatti and the magnificent baritone Ambrogio Maestri in the role of Falstaff, which he knows so well. That'll be coming to you at 7:45 in the evening European time, 1:45 p.m., a late lunch on Wednesday if you're in New York on the East Coast, or 10:45 in the morning, a late breakfast, or an early lunch on the West Coast. It is not free of charge. It will cost you €9.90, or about $11 to watch it. This is top-of-the-line opera. You can't get into an opera house at this price anywhere. So as I've mentioned already, Ambrogio Maestri will be playing the role of Sir John Falstaff. Now, I can mention to you some of the other people in it. Ford is played by Luca Micheletti, Fenton by Juan Francisco Gattel, Bardolfo by Christian Colia, Mrs. Ford by Rosa Faiola. But really, whether or not you like this is going to depend on whether you like Ambrogio Maestri, frankly. This is Daniele Gatti's return to La Scala after 6 years' time. And the production they're doing is what is known as the Po Valley production of Falstaff, which was first created by Giorgio Strehler and company way back in 1980 with the Loren Mazel on the podium. The last time it was performed was in the early 2000s with Riccardo Muti as the conductor. Now, here's the thing. Ambrogio Maestri began his career and made his great breakthrough as a singer, singing this role, okay, in this version of Falstaff, as conducted by Riccardo Muti and directed by Giorgio Strehler. This is back in the early 2000s at the La Scala in Milan, and it was his breakthrough. And after that, he just went on to glory. He began this season at the Paris Opera House, playing Falstaff in a different staging with Michael Schoenwand conducting. So this is something that that this is a role that he knows inside out, and he made his name doing this version. I don't know how it gets any better. I show you some photos there of him playing this same role at Wiedomska Opera that's in Slovakia, at La Scala, at the Royal Opera House, at the Paris Opera. I mean, he's done it everywhere. I've got a list of all the different opera houses where he's played the role. You know, it's those plus the Wiener Staatsoper, the Bavarian Staatsoper, Teatro des Champs-Élysées, the Zurich Opera House, Teatro Real Madrid. He's played it everywhere. So if you like this guy, then you're going to love this. And if you don't like this guy, you're not going to love it. It's his. So that's, incidentally, he was, when we first started publicizing live streams way back in May, he was in one of the first ones we talked about, playing a leading role in Donizetti's Don Pasquale at La Scala, and that was live streamed last May. So that's what we have for you to start off your week of big stage productions. And I hope those of you who are opera lovers, I hope you enjoy it. Now, there's another opera going on this week, and I don't know which opera house in the world would be better suited than the Paris Opera House to stage and play French composer Jean-Philippe Rameau's Castor and Pollux. I mean, if you can think of one, let me know in the comments section. Saturday, February 1st, Paris Opera Play live streams a performance of the rarely played original version of Castor and Pollux, first performed by the Académie Royale in 1737. Yeah, this is a version that usually isn't played because, well, among other things, Rameau revised the opera several years later. So he wasn't satisfied with it. It's at 7:30 in the evening, Saturday evening, European time, 1:30 in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon on the East Coast, 10:30 in the morning on the West Coast. You don't have to go out to a theater and pay more than this in order to watch something being done by the by the New York Met, which doesn't let you watch their stuff at home. You can invite friends over and hang out and as opera lovers and enjoy it. And during the intermissions, have snacks and chat and talk about things. Yeah, Castor and Pollux, if you know the story, it's about brotherly love but the thing that's so contemporary about it is when we have had two wars ongoing for the last few years, both down in the Middle East and one continuing in Ukraine now. The prologue to this opera poses the question, how do you stop a war and the hatred and resentment which goes with it once it's been started? Yes. If you think of those two hotspots, Ukraine and the Middle East, Anyway, it's a Peter Sellers joint, and he's famous and renowned not for no reason. If you don't know him, he did things like created works like John Adams as Nixon in China, and participated in the premieres of a lot of operas. And that's not what he's doing now. This is not premiering something new. But very often you find that some of your top people, they're interested both in the earliest music and recreating it, and also in the most contemporary music, because there's a way in which some of this very early music is so different from the typical music of our time. Now, let me tell you a little bit about some of the people who are in this opera. Castor, played by Rameau van Mechelen, and I haven't put his photo up for you, so let me do that now. So I kind of screwed this whole thing up, as I often do, folks. There you go. There you have Rameau van Mechelen. He's Belgian, I believe, and he's playing Castor. Yeah, he went to the Royal Conservatory of Brussels, got out in 2012, and immediately got hooked up with William Christie's Jardin des Voix and Les Arts Florissants. Has done an awful lot of work with Baroque ensembles across Europe. I could give you the list of his title roles, but I'm not sure how much that really tells you. His discography includes around 50 recordings. So, and he also directs an ensemble called A Nocte Temporis, which he founded in 2016. So, coin of the realm, I would say, when it comes to an opera of this kind from the 1700s. Pollux is played by Marc Mouillon, who is known sometimes to sing as a baritone, sometimes as a tenor. Sometimes they call that a barytenor. I don't know if he does. I think he's a regular with the Paris Opera House. He's played parts like Papageno and the Magic Flute, Bobinet and La Vie Parisienne, Mercury and Orpheus and Aux Enfers, the husband in Pollux, Les Mamelles de Tisserias. The list goes on. When he does in concert, he sings courtly arias by composers like Lambert, Charpentier, Bastilly, French motets and petit motets by people like Lully and Rameau. So this is in this opera, he's on familiar territory. The role of Telaïr is played by Janine Debique, soprano from Trinidad. She's very active on major international stages in Baroque, classical, and contemporary repertoires. And the role of Phoebe is played by Stéphanie Doustrac, a French mezzo-soprano who also started out her career with William Christie and has an extended Baroque repertoire. So you have a cast here and a conductor that I think and director that I think you can count on to be faithful to this somewhat rare opportunity to enjoy Rameau's opera as it was originally conceived and played. Okay, so now we move on to more orchestral works. We move on to Thursday night when, once again, as a couple of weeks ago, the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic and the Bergen Philharmonic are putting on overlapping live streams, and you may have to choose, if you're disappointed. The first one is the Stockholm Royal Phil. If you're disappointed with it after the first half hour, well, you can just switch over to the Bergen Phil. These are both free of charge. So let me present each of them to you in sequence. Thursday, January 30th, the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic brings in the up-and-coming young In Mo Yang to play Bruch's Violin Concerto and also offers you a symphony which you may not know, Dora Pejacevic's Symphony in F-sharp minor. I'm not sure, but someone keeps pinging me on my phone. What my friends somehow know how to do is they wait until I'm doing a live stream and then they start sending me messages which make pinging noises while I'm trying to do this. And I always forget to turn off the sound on the phone. Okay, so that's the Royal Stockholm Phil. That's Thursday, January 30th at 7 in the evening European time, 1 o'clock on the East Coast, and 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. They'll start out doing Beethoven's Egmont Overture. It's a very heroic piece of music based on a drama by Goethe, in which the heroic hero, yeah, right, Egmont it's named after Egmont the hero. So then they go on to having In Mo Yang playing Max Bruch's first violin concerto. Now, the program notes tell me it's one of classical music's most beloved concerto, and I confess, I don't think I've ever heard it. In Mo Yang, by the way, he's going to be debuting all over the place with the New York Phil and the LA Phil and Orchestra Nationale de France. Well, so now he's already been with the Orchestra Nationale de France, the BBC Symphony, Carnegie Hall. He'll be with the Polish National Radio Symphony also this year in Katowice, the Richmond Symphony, the Dresdner Phil, etc. And he's played with a lot of different companies, even though he's very young. He has released not one but two Deutsche Grammophon albums. One is called The Genetics of Strings, and the other was called 24 Caprices by Paganini. So should be interesting. Now, what's most interesting to me about this concert is after the intermission, the Symphony in F-sharp minor, which I don't know, also by Dora Pejacevic. Now, who is Dora Pejacevic? I wager you that a lot of you don't know who she is. She lived between 1885 and 1923 when she very sadly died while giving birth to her son. She got married in 1921. 2 years later, she has a baby and didn't survive it, which was not all that uncommon in those days. And she left behind, she was basically active for then maybe about 20 years, she left behind a catalog of 58 opuses and 106 compositions, mostly in, I'm told, late Romantic style, songs, piano works, chamber music, and composed the first composed the first piano concerto ever composed by, she's from Croatia. And so she's sort of like a big name in Croatia. And most of her pieces were performed during her lifetime, which was not all that common for women composers in the first 20 years of the 20th century. And they were performed in places by major soloists of the era in Budapest, Vienna, Prague, Munich, Dresden. She attended some music schools and academies in Zagreb, Dresden, and Munich, but not as a long-term student. They were short-term, getting tutoring there, and was basically self-taught. So this is a composer to be discovered. Another one of these women composers that are being discovered now that we didn't know about. And once again, I've been late coming out of the gate to give you pictures of the people that I'm talking about. So here it is. There's Inmo Yang there. And the conductor is Yuri Rosen. You can see this is a very young team altogether, so this is going to be one of those sort of vibrant, refreshing concerts done by ambitious young people. Yuri Rosen is about 40 years old. He studied at conservatories and universities in Prague and Salzburg, and he does a fair amount of guest conducting with various orchestras. He's on the rise. So that's what the Royal Stockholm Phil has for you on Thursday night. Now, after that, half an hour after they start, the Bergen Phil has come up with a concert with very Russian music, live streaming you Thursday, January 30th, the Bergen Philharmonic live streams you Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony and a Prokofiev violin concerto played by, let me give you that again. I want to have the right picture up when I'm talking about people. And tonight is a bedeviled live stream, folks. Not one of my best. Thursday, January 30th, the Bergen Philharmonic live streams you Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony and a Prokofiev violin concerto played by Isata Kane-Mason, the sensation from the BBC proms the last 2 years. That will be at 7:30 in the evening European time, which is 1:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast and 10:30 in the morning on the West Coast. The conductor is Pietari Inkinen, and Isata Kane-Mason, the sister of the other Kane-Mason whom you know about, is the soloist. They'll start out with a short piece by Un-Suk Chin, called Subito con Forza, which is described as it goes from volcanic eruptions to extreme calm. It was composed by South Korean composer Un-Suk Chin for Beethoven's anniversary in 2020. After that, they then will do Isata Kane-Mason will be playing Prokofiev's Concerto No. 3. Which was composed in 1921 by and which the composer premiered himself in Chicago that same year. The conductor, Pietari Inkinen, is chief conductor of the Deutsche Radio Philharmonie, also music director of the KBS Symphony Orchestra in Seoul. And he's conducted the Bergen Phil several times. As for Isata, she's from the UK. She made her debut at the BBC proms in 2023 with this very work that she's going to be playing on Thursday night. And then she went on to be the person who opened the proms in 2024. So this looks like it could be fun. Isata Kana Mason follows in the footsteps of her brother Sheku Kana Mason from this very musical family. So enjoy that. We move on to Saturday evening, where we have an even more full schedule. We have 3 concerts in a row on Saturday evening, 2 coming to you from Europe, and one of them coming from the U.S. And this time, I'm actually going to get the picture up in advance and do this right. Okay, what do we have coming up for you on Saturday, February 1st? Well, if you love Mozart, then you will not want to miss this live stream from the Elbphilharmonie concert hall in Hamburg. It's not the Elbphilharmonie itself, but it is coming from their concert hall. Saturday, February 1st, the Elbphilharmonie welcomes in Kit Armstrong and many of his friends to play Mozart all night long with 3 sets of music and 2 intermissions in between. If you love Mozart, you will love this. It starts at 7 in the evening, European time, 1 in the afternoon on the East Coast, 10 in the morning on the West Coast. Kit Armstrong is a piano star. This evening is being presented as part of the Elbphilharmonie's Mozart Festival. Kit will be bringing in violist Anna Gross, whom we've talked about in recent weeks, live streaming as well. I don't have my notes on that at hand. He's also the concert master. Oh, he's also bringing in the concert master of the Berlin Philharmonic, Noah Bendix Bagley. He's bringing in the Manetti Quartet, the Quatuor Hermes, and the Schumann Quartets. I mean, he's pulling out all the stops, and I could give you a long list of what they're going to be playing. Among other things, they'll be playing the Concerto for Piano and Orchestra in A major, and the Concerto for Piano Orchestra in C minor. They will be playing, there'll be an intermission between those 2 parts of the evening, and then another intermission, and then what's called the Little Night Concert with Little Night Music, playing smaller pieces, a whole series of them, like the Rondo from Eine Kleine Nachtmusik in G major, the Adagio and Fugue for strings in C minor. If you love, like I said, if you love Mozart, you will love this. If you don't, well, I don't know. Okay, now, so that's your Mozart evening for Saturday. And now that's followed up. There's more. We're not done. We have 2 more. Because not to be outdone, the Cologne Phil is also bringing you a concert this Sunday. And Christian Macelaru, the conductor with the Orchestra Nationale de France, seems to be popping up all over the place these days, but perhaps before becoming more involved with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, which is where he's going in next year to take over as the AD and conductor, which is, I think that's terrific for Cincinnati. But Cincinnati has a tradition of bringing in top European conductors. Who knew? Anyway, Saturday, February 1st, the Cologne Philharmonic brings in Christian Macelaru to conduct the world premiere of a newly commissioned concerto for orchestra by Wynton Marsalis and more. They're bringing in hotshot pianist Yun-Chan Lim as well. So how about that? That will be later in the evening. Now, there's a little confusion about this one. I'm not certain if this is a live stream. I think it is, but it's later in the evening because it's Saturday. There's a Friday evening concert where they're on at 8, but on Saturday it says the live stream's at 9. I think that's because there's a 1-hour program that goes on before the concert in the concert house, which is not live streamed, but I'm not certain. But I do know that if you go to their YouTube page, it says this live stream is at 9 o'clock, and I have to believe when someone says it's a live stream, that means live, not a recording. Anyway, they start out in the first half doing Rachmaninoff's Concerto No. 2 in C minor for piano and orchestra, Opus 18, and that's where Yun-Chan Lim comes in on the piano. He's a multi-award winning guy. The youngest ever winner of the Gold Van Cliburn International Piano Competition when he was only 18 years old back in 2022. So he's 20 years old. Marin Alsop, the veteran conductor who conducted the 2022 Cliburn final, said, quote, Yun-chan is that rare artist who brings profound musicality and prodigious technique organically together. Well, I think that's all you need to know. Okay, as for Macelaru, he's just one of the top conductors in Europe, and he's now going to be one of the top ones in the U.S. The Köln Symphony or Cologne Philharmonic commissioned this work, Concerto for Orchestra by Wynton Marsalis, and it's the world premiere of it. And this is free of charge. I mean, I don't know what it takes to get you to tune in, but if you're a classical music lover and that doesn't bring you in, I really don't know what will. I mean, that's exciting. That's like now music. And of course, well, I'm one of those people that really likes now music, even now music that I don't like, because it's now. I want to know I want to know what's being created now, even if I'm not going to like it. So enjoy that. Okay, and now we are down finally to the last of our offerings this week, brought to you by my beloved Detroit Symphony Orchestra, the symphony orchestra that taught me what is a symphony. 16-year-old kid living on the east side of Detroit, finally got a driver's license and could, go off on my own to drive downtown and attend the first symphonic concert of my life. Nobody else in my family was going to symphonies, I'll tell you that. And that's where I discovered, what is an orchestra. Here I am all these years later. Anyway, now look, sometimes when a young artist shows up to play something, he or she may be trying new material. Unlike some of the older artists who they have tried and true works in their repertoire. At one point during this week, there's an opera that's being put on. Verdi's Falstaff is being done on Wednesday night of this week, and Ambrogio Maestri, who's playing the role, has been playing that role for 20 years. It's the role that made his fame, knows it inside out. So, and sometimes younger artists aren't like that, but that's not the case this week with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. Saturday, February 1st at 8 o'clock Eastern U.S. time, the Detroit Symphony Orchestra brings in rising star Randall Gooseby to play music by Florence Price, which he has already recorded to critical acclaim. This is sure to be good. I always recommend the Detroit Symphony Orchestra because I love those guys. I'm proud of what my hometown produces. This will be at 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 2 in the morning in Europe, but we're staying up for, and noon Sunday morning down under in Australia, if anybody from Australia is watching us. So, yeah, that photo that I have up there, it shows Christian Reef, and somehow or another, when I'm looking at Randall, there's Randall Gooseby. You see the whole name. It was covered when I was looking at it. Okay, so you have these two guys on board here. Now, the pieces by Florence Price, which begin the concert, are her Violin Concerto No. 2, and another piece called Adoration, which has been arranged by Randall Gooseby. Randall Gooseby is a young graduate, bachelor, master's, and artist diploma from Juilliard, also an alumni of the Perlman Music Program, who studied with Itzhak Perlman, among others. The program he's playing tonight, he has already recorded to critical acclaim with the Philadelphia Orchestra, with Yannick Nézet-Séguin conducting. Another one of those European conductors transported to America. They'll also do Jimmy Lopez's Symphony No. 5, Fantastica. This is a co-commission by the Detroit Symphony. Anatoly Lyadov's Enchanted Lake, and, of course, there has to be a symphony, Prokofiev's Symphony No. 7. The conductor is Christian Reif, who was recently appointed the chief conductor of the Gävle Symphony Orchestra. Where is Gävle, you ask? Well, it's about an hour and a half's train ride north of Stockholm. Sweden. I spend half my time there, so I know that's where it is. He's also been, since 2022, the music director of this great music festival in Minnesota called the Lakes Area Music Festival, which often live streams. We covered a number of their live streams this past summer, and he was a resident conductor at the San Francisco Symphony for 3 years, from 2016 to 2019. And he's conducted with an awful lot of other orchestras. Now, the other thing about him is that he has worked with Randall Gooseby before. So these guys, they know each other. Randall Gooseby, among other debuts that he made in the last year, he debuted with the Seattle Symphony and the St. Louis Symphony. And both times Christian Rieff was there conducting. So what you have is a couple of young up-and-coming types. I mean, Gooseby is the youngest of the two, who have worked hand in hand already with different orchestras. So the thing about the Detroit Symphony is, one of the things I love about it is that Yadar Bignamini works so well with soloists. And I think his choice to bring in these two to work together reflects his commitment to soloists really working well with the conductor. So that's what we have for you for this week. We have Verdi's Falstaff on Wednesday. We have Rameau's Castor and Pollux on Saturday, both of which are going to cost you something, 990 euros for the Verdi and 1490 euros for the Paris Opera play. And then all the rest, we have free concerts from the Stockholm Royal Phil and the Bergen Phil on Thursday night, and on Saturday you have this triple header of all this Mozart coming from the Elbphilharmonie, and then you have a sequence of 2 more concerts from the Cologne Philharmonic and the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. It's a great week for those who love big stage production live streams, and even the ones that you have to pay for. What you have to pay is so little compared to what a ticket costs to get into an opera house. So I hope one or any of these live streams will be uplifting or inspiring, or just show you a really great time. Remember, if you're watching this on Facebook, like the video and we'll send you an invite to follow us. If you're watching on YouTube, click on the subscribe button or the button in the lower hand corner at the end of this video, which you will see to subscribe. Or don't just like our videos on our other platforms, follow or subscribe to us. And that would be on X, on TikTok, Instagram, and or Threads, or all of them. And in return, we promise you, we will get you live links to more than 1,000 live performances, like all these great performances I've told you about this week in 2025. Live streaming of the performing arts is exploding, and we're here to help you find it all, because if we don't tell you where it is, how are you going to find it? I work all week long digging this stuff up. Most of you don't have time to do that. So we